Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 12 of the Defending the Line podcast. I'm your host, TJ, and I'm going to be here to talk to you about various topics and cover videos on first responders, whether it be police, fire, EMS, even military. We regard all of them and dispatchers as first responders. And the sole purpose of this podcast has always been, will always be, that we want to defend these people that are defending us. And on a daily basis, they're out there doing their thing that they're sworn to do and supposed to do. And oftentimes they don't get the credit or appreciation and understanding of what they do. A lot of people seem to know more about policing and EMS and fire and military more than the people that actually do it themselves. And we're here to defend them and tell them, these people, that no, this is how it is. This is how you should see it, from our point of view, in our opinion. And this is what we've got for you. And so every week, Thursdays at 10 p.m. Eastern, I come on here. It's a live broadcast. So if you are catching it on Twitch now, you're watching it live. If you're watching the video on YouTube, you're catching the recording of this broadcast, of this podcast episode. Or you might be listening to us. And if you're listening to us, you might be on Anchor or Pandora or Spotify or any number of different hosts that we have our episodes on. And whether you're watching or listening, I thank you for all your commitment and dedication to the podcast. It's greatly appreciated. Continue to listen and watch if you can. And sometimes we'll do videos on here. We'll do a few today and break those down and talk about them. But sometimes we do them and you don't quite grasp everything that's occurring on audio. So if you're listening to the episode, it's kind of hard to get sometimes. I try my best to say, this is what's going on in the video and blah, 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 and throw my points in. But it would not hurt to venture over to our YouTube channel and watch the episode there. You're definitely going to get the visual experience, which is always nice. And I think so. This episode is airing today. This is Christmas Eve. So yay! Jingle, jingle, jingle. I don't have any bells. I don't have a Santa hat. I don't have anything cool to celebrate. But this is a Christmas Eve episode, and next week will be New Year's Eve episode, which is kind of cool. So we're going to be doing both, and every Thursday after that, as long as it's not some sort of major holiday where I'm going to spend time with the family or something comes up, I want to stay consistent, and I hope you do too. I hope you come and watch and listen on a weekly basis. And I try to get these episodes uploaded right away. I try to, within probably 3 hours or so, I've got the audio uploaded and the video uploaded to YouTube. So as far as the links, I will throw those links up on the Twitter account for Defending the Line. So you can find it at Defending the Line LN at Twitter. And then if you come to the Defending the Line podcast Twitch channel or YouTube channel or anywhere that there is links associated with the episode, you should get a Discord. Now, the Discord is a free text and audio, it's now video as well, service that allows you to communicate with other people. And it's just like AOL Instant Messenger. It's like an old school system of typing stuff out to people and going back and forth. And it's kind of got like chat rooms and different things set up. And so I utilize that during the broadcast. So I'm in there now. If someone was to jump into our lobby channel during an episode and I was going to take questions, I would pull them up from there and ask them if they wanted a comment or if they had a question. So you're more than welcome to jump in and join us in episodes. If you go to our anchor.fm page, you can actually record a message to me and to the podcast. And you can comment on a previous episode or something within that particular episode you're watching and leave a reply, and I'll play it on a future episode and pull it up. So all those things we want to see. We want to see the interaction from the public. And if I am live on Twitch, You're more than welcome to jump into the chat there and post up messages, questions, comments, whatever you have, and I'll try and reference them on the given topic or video that I'm covering. I may, after the first of the year, we're going into season 2. And season 2, I may make the move to YouTube and actually do a YouTube live from there as opposed to Twitch. I like Twitch. I don't know. I just think might need something different, and we'll see. We'll see how that works. I may even just do one episode as a test and not like it, and return to Twitch and keep it on Twitch. But Twitch has some very specific rules and very specific content guidelines and things like that, and I don't want to overstep, and I don't want to get the essentially banned on there. And nothing I do on stream or doing these podcast episodes is lost. So if they did ban me for whatever reason, they just didn't like me. I do have copies of all this stuff, and it still goes to YouTube and it still gets uploaded. So it's not a big deal, but trying to avoid any potential problems in the future. I just don't think it's that beneficial for the podcast. So last week we went over a number of topics. We covered the New York active shooter at the church, which was we showed the video and talked about what occurred, and even broke down some of the approach that the officers took and positioning of the citizens and how they ended that active shooting. And it was really well done by the officers that were there. And I think they responded to like the first shot in like 6 seconds for some nonsense because they were already there providing security. So they were able to respond, get him stuck in a corner essentially at the front doors of the church. He had nowhere to go. He wanted to die. He was telling them, kill me, shoot me. And so wish granted is essentially what occurred. He was shot multiple times, a single time in the head, and then transported later to the hospital where he died. And then we talked about the Drejan or Sean Reed shooting. We broke that down a little bit and talked about what the new complaints are and things like that. And then we showed the video of the Kent police, which was pretty amazing. They were in the active pursuit, and then the car turned in front of the officer, and he just says F it and just rammed the car. The officer later went on Twitter and said, no, I did this on purpose. I'm allowed to do this, and I chose to end the pursuit by ramming this car. And I don't know if that's what I interpreted from watching the video, but kudos to them for being able to do stuff like that, because in the United States, our policing is vastly different. My experience in law enforcement in the last 14 years, if I did something like that, I'd be in a lot of trouble. Some pursuits I've gotten into where I tried to disable cars and pit vehicles and do things. And I had one pit that was pretty spectacular that ended with this pickup truck essentially looking like a coupe convertible. It was squished and crushed. And so that essential use of force that I did on them was a deadly use of force or a near deadly use of force due to speed and everything else. But the conditions that we were in, and knowing that they had shot at somebody, they had carjacked somebody, they had robbed somebody, knowing that they are armed. And then at the time of the pursuit, when I was trying to do a pit maneuver, they actually tried to ram me like that kind of old school, the car's coming up and they're like, boom, and they try to hit the car off the road kind of thing. And so that's essentially what they try to do to me multiple times, as I kind of backed off and tried to switch sides to get a good pit maneuver on this vehicle. So there were some extenuating circumstances at that point that it was okay. But the police in the UK, they can ram the crap out of people, and they do it to people on mopeds and scooter, motorcycles and just regular plain old scooters and things. I don't know if they're doing it to people on like kick scooters, like they're kicking their feet trying to get away and they run them over. I don't know if that's a thing, but the stuff they get away with is pretty amazing, and it shows a vast difference in policing. And when you go and you look at videos and read up on this stuff of these European police officers, and not just the UK, I mean just throughout Europe, they don't have the same rules that police in the United States do. And so you see a lot of ramming, you see a lot of running over, you see a lot of just blatant, just use of force. Sometimes they'll just be talking to somebody and punch them in the face. And I mean, that's okay over there. Whereas over here, it causes riots, it causes protests and nonsense just because the officer had punched somebody. And there was a video that popped up on Twitter just yesterday, I think it was yesterday or the day before, and it was a what I think is a security guard. There are two guys fighting on the ground. Security guards kind of standing over them, completely worthless. And then they get him in cuffs. A police officer arrives, lifts him up off the ground, and as he lifts him up, the guy says something to the security guard or whoever he is, and that guy takes a swing at him, and he misses him. And the cop reaches over and grabs this clown and shoves him up against the car and then yells something to the other officers, and they actually hooked him up and put him in cuffs. And so I don't know if this was another police officer. It says officer on the back of his vest, but his uniform did look different from police. So could have been transit, could have been something else. No matter what, just watching that video, that person was worthless in the fight and completely worthless to try and punch a handcuffed prisoner who was in total complete control of the police officer. So that video is out there. You can take a look at it. I wasn't going to show it this time because I had a full schedule of things I wanted to cover. So we're gonna jump right into that stuff. But I don't talk about politics on here much, but I did want to say something about the recent stimulus thing that's popped up and people are kind of losing their minds over, and rightfully so. They said $600 is all the citizens are worth, and they're giving away hundreds of millions of dollars to other countries, Pakistan for gender studies or something, and some other craziness, and so it was a slap in the face to the citizens of the United States for our government to wait so long. We got one stimulus payment and then nothing, and wait so long to do something that they shove it in with all this budget stuff for 2021. And it was a huge slap in the face. And so it was, the president kind of said, hey, go F yourselves. These people need like $2,000 and you need to fix this. And so I don't know if that's going to happen. I hear there's a lot of arguing going on. And to be frank, politicians right now are completely worthless. I won't say every single one of them, but 99.9999999% are completely worthless. They care about their agenda only. They care about their party only. And they don't seem to care about the citizens. And that goes for every political party. I'm not saying it's anyone in particular. But to see something like that got passed by both sides, that was a huge slap in the face. So I'm hoping for some better stimulus. We'll see. This video is kind of funny. I wanted to show it because it just kind of goes to show you that anything can happen at any time. We're going to show another video later of that kind of concept as well, but this is pretty funny. So these officers are working at a Target, and they're working off duty or undercover. I guess they're on duty, and they're trying to stop theft that's occurring at this Target. And if you're in law enforcement, you know the two places that are probably the worst is Target and Walmart. Sorry, guys, but that's where a lot of theft occurs. And I like Target a lot more than I like Walmart. Nothing good ever seems to come out of Walmart, but I still go there all the time because the prices are pretty cheap. So, but anyway, these officers are working there as Santa and Elf. And there's a number of officers that are working this incident, and I thought this was pretty fitting, given that this is the Christmas Eve episode of the Defending the Line podcast. But watch this video, and what's occurring is the people have been stealing, walking out with items, and so they've caught a bunch of people. Now, someone goes and says, "Hey, officers, there is someone breaking into vehicles or casing vehicles," and they go to confront these people. The two guys run. You'll see them later. The last guy actually gets in the vehicle and steals it. And so you're going to watch it, and I'll try and do my best to say what's occurring for those listening on the audio. But it's pretty funny. So this is the guy that gets away with the vehicle. This vehicle is reported now stolen. It's a Honda CRV type thing. So I got a pretty good look at him, and we're in a mask world right now, and if you're not wearing a mask, you're a moron. So already he's
Get
an
on
idiot.
your knees.
What the fuck is going on?
Get on your knees.
Walk me, dude. Get on the ground. What the fuck is going on?
Yeah, you got to get that guy. What's wrong is you try to steal a car, but your buddy stole the car.
I didn't try to steal anything. What the
Okay.
fuck are you talking about?
Okay.
I didn't touch anything, dude.
So this guy's being arrested by an elf. A guy dressed in an elf costume. Now here comes Santa.
Get him, Santa!
Go get him! Boom! Taking him down. All right, so I'm gonna replay that real quick, and I'll go ahead and mute it and just kind of break it down a little bit. But so dumbass gets away with the car, but the other two don't get away. Now this first guy that we see in the video that surrenders, he's at gunpoint by this officer in a elf costume, green jacket, red pants, striped socks, legitimate elf. Okay, and so he's got him at gunpoint. He's hooking this guy up. I don't know who this guy in the vest is, but he comes running up. He goes down and confronts the other guy with what I'm assuming is a citizen, and I'm assuming recording is a citizen or at least maybe a Target employee. But the kicker was the Santa Claus. So the officer is dressed as Santa and is legit red pants, red jacket, wearing a hat of which stays on his head as he's running down and grabs this guy and takes him to the ground, still wearing his hat. Okay. So he grabs this guy, he tackles him, brings him down, puts him in handcuffs, and they arrest both of these clowns. Now, what I saw and read later was that the vehicle was recovered. It was found kind of at a different location a ways away, and they were able to identify this third guy that had driven away in the vehicle, and they know exactly who he is, and they put a warrant out for his arrest, or they're going to go arrest him or whatever it is. They just said that's pending. So that's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. I laughed the first time I saw it. I was laughing. It was pretty solid. And the other two guys, I mean, you're with the third guy. You run when you see people coming at you, and you try to say, I didn't do anything. I wasn't doing nothing. Yeah, okay. And if you're stupid enough to think that not every or let's just say stupid enough to think that a Target or a Walmart won't have cameras, you're a moron. You are going to be on camera casing these vehicles, and I would venture to bet these two clowns probably have some sort of criminal history, and take a wild guess, and maybe some of that criminal history has to do with theft or auto theft, because that's generally how that works. So I thought it was funny. It was fitting. It just came out a couple days ago, but it was perfect for our our Christmas episode of the podcast here. Now, the next kind of topic I wanted to get into, we've brought up on this podcast before on a previous episode, and it's overstepping bounds of like oversight. So we've talked about mayors and city councils and things like that. And so what we have is we have a police commission in Los Angeles that ruled, based on the circumstances, the incident that occurred, that this police officer, a female officer who was a competition shooter, she has videos and Instagram and all this crazy nonsense of her shooting at ranges with pistols and rifles and things. I think that's even a picture of her right there holding a rifle. They say that this officer was not justified in firing the last 2 rounds of 6 shots. Now, just to kind of break down this, and I'm gonna show the video because I think the video is important. I think it's important to watch. I think it's important to see, and we're gonna run through it kind of step by step. But the officers are responding to an accident scene. This is not a shooting. This is not an assault. This is not a theft. This is just an accident. And when they get there, they're told that this guy's acting crazy. And what he does is he comes out of a vehicle with a knife, and he goes towards the officers.
Why does he want to hurt himself? We don't know. He's the one who caused the accident. Give me a backup.
And they do a lot of good talking in this. So I'm not
Step
gonna
out of your vehicle and go on the sidewalk right now.
I'm not gonna talk
Yes,
too
I need
much.
you to step out now. Go. Go. Go right now. Hold on.
We're gonna break this video down a little bit too.
Partner, right now, we need to get cover. Oh, everybody, go away.
Man, get the hell out of here.
Que se hueva. Partner, we have
It's a nice cutting himself in the vehicle.
Do not move your car.
Stay out there.
Is there anybody in there?
25 years old, conscious.
Hey, partner, you might be running. Hey, man, let me see your hands.
So he's coming out of the vehicle. He's coming around the vehicle.
Stay right there. Drop the knife. Drop the knife. Drop the knife. Drop it. Drop it.
All right. So we're gonna stop right here, okay? Because that's basically the meat and potatoes of what occurred. Now, first and foremost, I think it's hilarious that the start of this video is officer munching on a power bar. That's pretty damn funny. That she's eating on the way to the call. She is a passenger in the vehicle, so it's okay. But I thought that was kind of funny just to see that, because these body cams, they do roll back 30 seconds and generally are blank. There's no audio for those 30 seconds. Now I've muted the video just so I can talk over the video. They know he has a knife. They know he's trying to cut himself. He is a threat to public safety. When he comes around the vehicle, they can see he's got a knife. They say, drop the knife, stop where you're at. The officer fires. She fires twice. And then he goes down almost immediately, but almost immediately gets back up. He's like, "Brah," and gets back up. Okay. So down, gets back up, 2 more shots. Okay. Now he rolls over, but he's getting back up when she fires again. Now it's hard to catch in the video, but if you look carefully, his arm is lifting him up. His left arm is lifting himself up to get back up again, right there. The reason it fails to get him up is because she shoots him again, and he then falls and collapses. And so the commission, in their infinite wisdom of whatever experience they have, which is probably nothing, they say that this officer was unjustified in firing those final 2 rounds. I would beg to differ. If you look at this video, he has advanced on the officers. He's threatening them and aggressive and wants them to shoot him. He has already been cutting himself, and for whatever reason, is having some issue in an accident, something that wasn't even a big deal. It wasn't even a thing where the officers got called to a house or to a location because he's suicidal or homicidal or whatever. But what occurs is this guy comes out and confronts the officers. Now, I'm a little torn in this video in the sense of I get to look at it after the fact. I get to sit there in armchair and Monday Night Quarterback because the video is out and it's on a screen and I can see, what's going on, and I can say something after the fact. I look at this video. I'm a little concerned with all the people. I'm a little concerned because there's people in the background. On the left side, there's literally 2 people straight direct line of fire behind him. I might have stepped back a little bit and kind of left moved myself a little bit. I don't know. Looking at it, she took the shots because that was what worked for her. Clearly a threat to public safety. Clearly a threat to everybody around and not just the officer, because there was a part in the video where she goes up to open this car door. There's somebody inside this vehicle, I think, in this gold car. And she tried to open the door. And I assume she was going to use it for cover. But you don't know. This guy might walk up and get in that vehicle and start stabbing somebody or whatever. Maybe he's even got a gun also. He's got a knife. This was not a circumstance for less lethal. At one point in the video, the officer asks, "Hey, partner, do you have less lethal?" I mean, everybody's got a taser, right? At this point in policing, and that's not true. I'm kind of overgeneralizing. They don't. A lot of departments can't afford tasers, but it's Los Angeles. They probably had tasers. They probably had a beanbag shotgun in the vehicle. They had some other stuff that they could have used, but not in this type of scenario. You're looking at the 21-foot rule in action, because from where she's standing initially at the start of all of this, she was towards the front of the vehicle. She steps back away before the shots are fired, and she ends up at the rear of the vehicle. And so she's here at the back of the vehicle when the shots are going off. That is probably 21 feet. And what we know about 21 feet is that someone can run at you with a knife, with a club, with a whatever, just barehanded even, attack you faster than you're capable of recognizing the threat and engaging the threat. And so she did pretty good because she saw the threat coming. She made that kind of decision in her head that this is a threat. He has a knife. He is coming at me. I need to take action. And she took action. I think that these clowns in the police commission or whatever the hell they are, I think they're a joke that they would say those last 2 rounds were unjustified. I think they were very justified. I think that she is going to fight this. I think that a union-backed attorney or whatever their system is in Los Angeles is going to fight this, and she's going to be fine. But this goes into that topic that we've discussed before, and it's overstepping boundaries. It's overstepping power. And you can't give civilians this kind of power. You can't allow them to decide if an officer is justified in shooting, because this shows she's justified in shooting, and there are circumstances and there are thought processes that go through pulling the trigger, and she has to follow statute and make sure that she is perceiving the threat, and there's a threat of deadly physical or serious bodily injury or death to people around or the officer themselves. And these probably, I'm generalizing, and I have no clue what the commissioners, these people that are on this commission, what their experiences are, but I would venture to guess none of them have law enforcement experience. Maybe not. I know a lot of these kind of commissions and these oversight boards, and they're all civilians that want change within reform within the departments. And that's great. That's, yay, more power to you or whatever. But they also make these decisions. And I think that this was a piss poor decision that on their part, because he's got a box cutter, they say in this article, advancing towards the officer. And luckily, this is a competition shooting officer who's very capable, who I imagine took these shots because she knew, I am capable of taking these shots. Another lesser officer might have retreated and kind of gotten into like a tighter space to be able to shoot, center mass and not have to worry about hitting other things. She could probably put all 16 rounds of her magazine into the center mass of a target because that's her skill level. That's her competition shooting. And so I think this, like I said, this goes into that overstepping power, and it's wrong. It's wrong. And I think we need to start looking at this system that we're allowing to occur and start thinking about it a little different. I feel that if we have these commissions, if we have these oversight boards, if we have these things, half of them need to be prior law enforcement, period. Half of them have to be prior law enforcement. And then half of them can be straight up, I have no idea what a gun even looks like. And that's fine. but you do injustice to law enforcement and everybody else that's involved by nitpicking after the fact, much like I did, or I get to do on this podcast, but nitpicking an officer and what they did, why they did it, and everything else. And clearly, this guy was a threat. So I'm a little annoyed by this video. I'm a little annoyed by the system. I hope everything works out well for her. And I don't know what else to say. I think this department needs to back this police officer and really make it clear that this officer is justified. This guy tried to get up multiple times. He advanced, went down, got up, went down, tried to get up again. And the only reason he didn't get up again is because there was a chemical reaction. There was a physical interaction between the lead in his body and his organs and his just kind of electrical things, impulses and things going through his body. She put enough holes in him that caused him to stay on the ground. He chose to get out of the vehicle with a weapon. He chose to advance on the police officer. He chose the outcome of the situation. It's on him 110%. And the officer was simply defending themselves and the people around them. So I think it's garbage that this is occurring nationwide. And it's this reform stuff. It's this lives matter stuff that they're saying that police are this and police are that. And they have no clue what they're talking about. And there's a great video, and I highly encourage people to look it up. If you go to YouTube and you type in news reporter use of force training or something to that effect, you're going to get a video, and it's a news reporter that is, or it's a civil rights kind of person, like a protester, like a person that's in that kind of movement for police reform and use of force and things like that. And they go in, they strap on a gun belt, a gun protection face thing, whatever, and they conduct traffic stops and contacts with people, and then have to decide whether or not to use force. And in this video, if you watch it, it's a couple minutes long on YouTube, but this person draws and kills an innocent, unarmed person. They don't shoot when they're supposed to, and then they get shot multiple times with these simunition type rounds. And so I highly encourage people to pull this video up, watch it, and get a feel for what officers deal with on a daily basis, because we're going to watch a video here in a little bit where the officer has to react instantly, and it's not even quick enough, when the time comes. And that's going on in an officer's brain at every single contact they make, is they need to think about, what am I doing? What is this call? What is this guy doing? Where is his hands? What's he doing? Blah, blah, blah. And all these different things are going on at the same time. So I highly encourage people take a look at that. Now, here's the point of the podcast where I'm going to get angry. I'm going to get mad. I'm going to get pissed off. And when I saw this article, and this came out, I think on the 20th, this article came out and it says, Wisconsin mayor encourages police department to discriminate against veterans in hiring practices. Now, this mayor is Corey Mason out of Racine, Wisconsin. And Corey, this D-bag right here, you can see him on screen if you're watching the video. This guy, this clown, has the city council, the board, whatever it is, come up with a kind of like manual, if you will. And in the manual, he asks for hiring practices to be different. And part of the hiring practices says, page 26 of their official report, and you can get this off of cityofracing.org. So it's an official document that they put out. It says hiring practices, hire more minorities. Okay. Review an applicant's aggressiveness, loyalty, and mental capacity. That's strange. Exclude ex-military due to a possible militaristic approach. let's not have a lot of military. Exclude veterans. Okay, exclude veterans. Screen for bias and post-traumatic stress disorder. Recruit youth. Okay, have a residency requirement. And I've talked about residency on this podcast before. I said I don't agree with residency working in your own town because you're going to run into a lot of people in your neighborhood that you have to deal with in uniform. It is a officer safety issue. It is you could be out at the grocery store with your children and be confronted with somebody you arrested a couple days ago and something could go bad. So I don't highly recommend people work in their own towns. Some towns are so small, some towns, cities are so small that ultimately, yeah, you've got to be there. And some require it, that you live within the town you police. And I don't agree with it. I don't think that should be a norm. But the thing that's killing me, the thing that kills me most about this whole thing is exclude ex-military and screen for post-traumatic stress disorder. So what you're saying is that the military veteran is no good, that the veteran or person or someone that might have had PTSD from an incident as a child is not a good applicant. That's what you're telling me. We are in a situation right now where we're trying to get police officers, we're trying to get EMS, we're trying to get fire, we're trying to get our military to come forward and say, I have a problem and I need help. That I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about that, I've had these experiences and I'm hurting and I need help. We're trying to encourage these people to do it, but then we're pissing on them, just like this mayor did, by saying you're not good enough because you have PTSD. You're not good enough because you're hurting because of an experience you've been through. And that's fucking garbage. I told you I'm going to get pissed. I'm going to get angry. That is garbage. And it's garbage that you would say that a veteran who has served this country, who has been put their body, their mind, their soul, their heart, literally everything on the line for this country, you're telling me they're not good enough to be in uniform because of their militaristic approach. No. Okay. And so what I say to good old Mayor Corey Mason of Racine, Wisconsin is fuck you, Mayor. You're a piece of garbage. You're a piece of trash. Okay. To come up and say that they're not good enough for law enforcement and to say that veterans should not apply, you are a piece of garbage. And it pisses me off that this occurred. This pisses me off that this would even be entertained. And it really pisses me off that they came up with a 30+ page document and thought it would be a good idea to put that document out, to put it out on their website and say, these are the hiring practices we want to see with our police department. That angers me and it should anger you. It should piss everybody off. And you know what it is? It's a violation. Okay, just right off the bat, just to say that we will exclude military is a violation of the law. You cannot, in the state of Wisconsin, there is a Fair Employment Act, and it prohibits you from excluding military. There is a federal law that says you cannot exclude people because of their military, and you cannot exclude them because of their disabilities, which common injuries experienced by veterans includes post-traumatic stress disorder at the top of this document. It very specifically says you cannot exclude these people because of this. And it makes me angry and it pisses me off that some shitbag mayor somewhere thought this was a good idea and a clown group of his cronies came together and said, yeah, this is a great idea. Let's go ahead and put that out there so that everybody knows that this is what we're recommending. I recommend you go F yourself. This is trash. This is garbage. Now here is the shining point, and I'm going to go goose fraba. Okay. Relax, right? This is the response from the chief of police. The chief of police, Art Howell, of the Racine Police Department on December 22nd released this statement. I'm going to read the whole thing because I feel the value in what he says, and I think other people should hear it. He says, in observation of the recent community conversation wherein it was suggested that military veterans be excluded from future employment opportunities with the Racine Police Department, a formal public response is in order. Yes, I agree. He says, this conversation cannot proceed in earnest without first acknowledging the sacrifice of those who have given their lives in service to others. Those who honorably served our nation in the various branches of the armed forces deserve our deepest gratitude, utmost respect, and most sincere appreciation. The perspective that military veterans be arbitrarily disqualified for future service as local peacekeepers is problematic on many levels. Most notably, such a policy would be in violation of the Uniformed Services Employment and Reemployment Rights Act, which I have just showed you. Additionally, such a response would actually weaken, not strengthen, the police profession. To fully appreciate the value veterans bring to the public safety environment, we must first consider the attributes veterans bring to the military environment. The skill set most successful veterans possess include, but is not limited to, problem-solving skills, technical expertise and logistics and planning, teamwork, and most important, communication skills. As our nation faced the challenge of limited hospital space during the ongoing COVID-19 crisis, military leaders and engineers were called upon to erect temporary medical facilities to prevent our healthcare system from becoming completely overwhelmed. More recently, as the much awaited COVID-19 vaccines are being rolled out and shipped throughout the country, once again, Defense Department influence has informed and supported this important effort. Although some who have engaged in combat have experienced physical and or mental injuries, while selflessly serving, such factors do not diminish their honorable service or otherwise disqualify these individuals from post-military public service. Fortunately, within the city of Racine, the record will reflect that the military veterans are highly regarded. During my tenure as chief of police, I had the opportunity and honor of hiring a number of recruits who had previously served in the military. This commentary was motivated by the need to reaffirm our organizational respect for, appreciation of, and commitment to those who have served. Moving forward, the department will remain committed to hiring the best possible candidates to meet the changing needs of our community. Through demonstrated leadership and acquisition of transferable skills, and after meeting the rigorous physical, medical, and psychological screening required of all recruits, military veterans will remain among those who will be called upon to serve. Now he goes on to talk about some of the local stuff and some of the people that they have, and I'm not going to read all that, but it took me a minute to find this. This was not prominently displayed on their website. This was not prominently displayed on their Facebook page or Twitter account or whatever. This was a post I had to scroll down on Facebook to actually find a link to and find this document that this chief released. So I think where I applaud 100% wholeheartedly this chief of police for taking this stance and saying what he did. He needs to go further. We need to get on the news. We need to talk about it. We need to go to international chiefs of police. We need to go to these organizations. We need to fight against something like this. We need to make an example of this mayor. And if we have to, get a recall started to get rid of this piece of garbage, because he is going against the very fabric of this country. He's going against the very fabric of how this country came to be and the sacrifices that these people, these veterans, make on a daily basis, male and female both. It blew my mind to see this come out, and it made me so angry that I had to mention it on this podcast. And we're just not doing enough, guys. We are not doing enough. Just by talking about it, it is not enough. We need to go out there and we need to make everyone aware of what was said, that this mayor, that this is his stance, that this is who he is. It even goes so far, if you go to their website and cityofracine.org/mayor, it says, "Hello, I'm Mayor Corey Mason. Thank you for taking the time to visit the City of Racine's website. I have the honor of serving as your mayor. Hearing your thoughts, concerns, and opinions is the most important part of my job." Good. So please give him a call at 262-636-9111, which is listed on his website, or submit the online web form at cityofracine.org/mayor and let him know what a garbage piece of trash he is, because he should think twice about going out into the public and saying some rancid fucking nonsense like this, that veterans of the military are no good in law enforcement, that people that are suffering or have suffered with PTSD are no good from serving in law enforcement. And Mayor, you are trash. And you know what? I very well might be calling you here tomorrow. I know it's Christmas, but I'll leave you a good message that says what I think of you. Or maybe what I'll do is I'll submit the online web form with the clip from this episode that says you are a piece of trash. Because that is exactly what you are. This angered me so much. And as a veteran myself, I think some of the best people I worked with were veterans. Some of the best people I worked with. I'm not saying they were the best. I'm saying some of them were. And they have a mentality. They go through a lot of discipline. They learn to work as a team. They learn to communicate. They learn to do all these things. They know right from wrong. And they go into this profession and they do really well. And there used to be a time back in the 90s, back in the 80s, back in maybe even the early 2000s, where you had guys coming back, maybe even back in the Vietnam era, that they came back and they were a little aggressive and things like that. Maybe that occurred. I don't know. I know that the 90s in policing was vastly different than it is today. But to say that someone coming from the military now is unfit to be in law enforcement is complete garbage. It angers me, it pisses me off, and the mayor himself would like to hear from you. So please contact Mayor Corey Mason of the Racine City Government at cityofracine.org/mayor, and you're more than welcome to call him at his office. He wants to hear what your thoughts and opinions are. Please do. Please let him know how full of shit he is. And I try to reserve myself on this podcast. I really try. I try so hard to limit my language, to not be kind of too overly emotional and aggressive, because I want to keep this kind of a neutral reporting, a neutral source of media for people. But this pissed me off. This made me so mad. So, Woosah, Goose Fraba, whatever it is. Okay, I feel better. Okay, so we're gonna move on to a video that I found, and this was the video I was talking about earlier. And I'll kind of showcase or kind of give a synopsis of what's going on first before I actually play it, and then I'll break it down a little bit. But this was a pure example that anything can happen at any time, that police officers have literally a split second to make a decision, and sometimes it's life-threatening. So this officer comes upon a vehicle that is disabled in the left lane of the highway. And so on the video, if you're watching our video version or our live stream of this podcast, you are able to see what is on the screen. I will try and talk you through if you're an audio listener. But it is a white vehicle, Hyundai or Honda or something, with a logo on the back. It is parked in the left lane, and it is just sitting there, and the officer has pulled up behind it, and he gets out to approach. Now, what you don't see right away on this dash cam is that there's a police officer behind him a ways back that is blocking traffic, trying to merge cars over. And that frequently happens. He is wearing a body camera. The body camera gets dislodged and thrown during the scuffle. And that frequently happens, and people don't understand that about body cams. There is no way to permanently attach the body cam. It is always going to go flying. And so that's what occurred. So they said there wasn't much video to show from that. This is one of these like right side only stereo videos. Not sure why. So he's making his approach up to the car. And you're going to see just how fast this goes down. All right, so I'm going to pause here. Conveniently, his flashlight is shielding us from most of the, I guess, the content that is harming to people. Now, this officer approaches the car. The door swings open. As soon as the door swings open, shots are being fired at him. He goes down almost immediately. He's struck multiple times. So he's going to go down. The bad guy gets out and immediately runs at him firing. Immediately. There is no hesitation. There is no question. There is no speaking. He just rushes him and fires. Now, I don't know if this is a revolver. That was a lot of rounds. I don't know what kind of firearm he's using, but he, for some reason, stops firing at this point. So the officer is laying on the ground. This guy's on him. He's hitting him. He's, trying to kill him. And the officer then draws and fires multiple rounds. Now, I watched the other video for this other officer, and it drove me crazy. And I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna skip ahead and play it. So the officer, he pulls up. He's down the road. He's blocking traffic. Now you're gonna hear the gunshots. And I think this officer, he's thinking it's a disabled vehicle. He's thinking it's motorist assist. He's thinking, oh, it's not a big deal or whatever. But he's sitting there, and then he hears the shots. He's like, what was that? And he doesn't say it. You can't really hear it, but I know that's what's in his brain. I know that's what he's thinking. And then more shots, and it clicks. And he goes, oh, something's going on. And I have to go help. And so I'm going to play the video. And you're going to hear these shots. Boom, 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 boom. And he gets on the radio. Hey, are you okay? You're going to hear that here in a second. More shots. Now he's kind of moving. He's like, what the hell's going on? Are you 10-4? Are you okay up there? And now there's just a scream. Now he guns it. And so he's coming up to help him. He's trying to get on the radio.
83 shots fired.
I know that sound. That is the worst sound ever, is when you're trying to key up the radio to tell the dispatch something and you can't get on the radio. And that could be just their reception. That could be a lot of times it was when somebody was talking and you were trying to talk over them, the way the radios worked, or at least for me, that was what I ran into.
Westbound 44 southbound. Westbound 44 southbound. Officer screaming on the radio.
So dispatch has no idea what the hell's going on. I don't think when he said shots fired got across to the radio. He's still trying to key up.
83 shots fired.
Now he says there's shots fired. Now he's coming out. The officer's on the ground.
76, 30, 31, 30.
They don't know if anybody else is in the car. He's asking them, is there anybody else? Is there anybody else? I don't know.
83 or 93, 81. I got an officer shot. We have an officer shot. Officer shot. One subject down. Officer shot. One subject down. Unknown if anybody else is in the car.
Now, I've been in situations where I could not respond to a call listening to the radio, and I've heard an officer get shot. I've heard an officer go down within where I worked. And that is the worst radio to hear. To hear that sound, that an officer is shot, and there are cars screaming in from all over the world to come help. And you'll see it like if you watch the whole body cam, and I'm not going to play the whole thing, but you're going to see cars zipping by because they're trying to get over there. I mean, stop on your side of the road, just stop and just jump out don't go all the way down to the next exit or whatever, but you're going to see, 100 cars. Now I pause the video here. You can see officer shot in the arm. He's shot in the leg. There's something kind of on his waistline that either is just blood transfer or he got shot in the waist as well. He is standing. He is walking around. He had his gun out. This is a freaking boss right here. This is what you want to see every police officer doing. He gets his rifle out. This is a guy just shot multiple times and he's getting his rifle out.
938183 is with me right now. He is secure.
Are you kidding me?
He has a tourniquet on.
Puts his own tourniquet on.
He is secure at this point.
We're going to stop the video here. You can go on to YouTube and you can look it up. It says dash cam video of shooting involving Webster Groves officer on I-44. So you can look it up. But we're going to stop it there. This is a boss. And this is the kind of guy, and I don't know what his background is. I didn't get any of the information on the officer. I don't know if it says anything, but this is what I expect of our military veterans that get in law enforcement is they have the mentality of the combat and the fight and staying in the fight. And you're telling me these guys are not good enough, Mayor of Racine, piece of garbage. So this is a prime example of what I talked about in a previous episode of staying in the fight. This guy got shot multiple times through the arm, through the leg, puts his own tourniquet on, takes his rifle out, and still stands there because he doesn't know if there's anybody else in the car. And that officer is a boss. And I know when I watched it the first time, I'm screaming in the video to the other officer, those are shots, go, go. Luckily, I saw all of this officer's body cam before I saw the other officer, so I knew he was okay. But I would have lost my mind if I watched the other video first, and I would have been like, "Oh my God, what are you doing?" But he figures it out. And I've heard gunshots too, and I'm like, "Are those gunshots?" I was standing next to someone who fired a gun, and I looked at them and I go, "Did you just shoot?" Auditory exclusion, all that stuff kind of kicks into play, and I didn't understand that was a gunshot, not just like a loud bang, like hitting the side of a car. I was like, shoot. And I look at another officer. Did he just shoot? And the other officer's like, I don't know. We're standing literally 5 feet away from this officer, and I had no clue. So I'm not going to judge this guy at all. He hears what are boom, boom, booms and boom, 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 booms. And finally, it clicks and goes, this is not good. And there's a light on the ground kind of shining back at him. And I don't think it was intentional to shine the light back, but damn, that was pretty good, because that was a good key indicator that light, there's something wrong, that their officers trying to motion, for help. And this officer made a recovery, or at least he's recovering now. I don't know when this was, but this was just released as of a couple days ago, I think 21st. And so I'm going to step back just for 10 seconds and say that our veterans, they know how to be police. They know how to be strong, courageous, honorable, dedicated, committed, all those core values. And to say that they're worthless, that they shouldn't be, they don't fit the police role is nonsense. And this officer right here, whether he was veteran or not, he is now. He has just been in combat. That was combat. We don't think about law enforcement officers being in combat, but that was combat. The person engaged him, he engaged them back, and he lives to see another day, barely. That could have been bad. If that guy had jumped out with something with 30 rounds or 15 rounds, and I'm not a proponent of making any laws that limit magazine size, but if he had jumped out with 2 guns, it doesn't matter, whatever it is. That officer's lucky. I don't know if the gun jammed. I don't know what the circumstances are behind it, but man, that's a wild video to watch. And it's mind-blowing, and it should be mind-blowing to a citizen that the officer gets shot multiple times, gets back up. He deals with the threat, gets back up, goes and gets his rifle out of the back of the car, puts his own tourniquet on his arm, and he's bleeding. He's bleeding in his leg. He's bleeding in his arm. He's bleeding in his, possibly his waist. He's got multiple gunshots. And he stays in the fight. So I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank everybody for watching and listening. I encourage everybody to seek out our YouTube channel. The link is included with every uploaded audio episode. So you can check that out. You can also check out the Discord. That link is also included. I highly encourage people to watch the videos, to go and watch videos on their own. And I used to do it all the time. I used to, especially when I was in law enforcement, I would go online and I would look up videos and just see, oh, what happened today? Oh, what's going on here? Oh, what did they do in this? How did the officers respond? How did this? And I take little tidbits and try to learn. And that's good for law enforcement officers. It's good for military. That's good for fire and EMS. And it's great for a civilian because you may have no idea what these officers do. But it's the internet. And you can get a little bit of it. Just go on YouTube, go on Twitter, go on wherever. Law Enforcement Today is a great website, officer.com, Police One. These are all websites that provide videos and provide articles and stories and things like that. I think one of the articles I showed today was from Law Enforcement Today. And you need to educate yourself. You need to learn. You need to understand what these officers go through, and what these paramedics go through, and what these firefighters go through, and what these military and dispatchers and all these people. And we played a video a couple episodes back of a dispatcher, talking to a child of a, murder, suicide, or whatever it was, and that they were calling 911. You need to understand what these people go through, and every single day they are scarred. And we talked about in a previous episode that every officer has a bucket. And their bucket is filled with one call and filled with another call and and it fills up and up and up, and eventually it spills over. And then we see things like PTSD and depression and suicide and things that pop up. And it pains me that we're in 2020, going into 2021. We're trying to encourage our police officers, our first responders, literally everybody, to come forward. Say, I have a problem and I need help. It pains me that we're trying to do that and we're undermined by people like that mayor in Wisconsin. To say that because you've had PTSD, you're no good. You are good. We haven't all been there, and we probably can't say that we know where you're coming from. I can't say I know where you're coming from if you're having issues. I can say I've had my share. But you need to come forward. You need to say something. You need to get help. You need to get better. It's okay to not be okay. And this douchebag in Wisconsin and his people that put out this ridiculous multi-paged pamphlet thing of reform for the police department are morons. They're countermanding, they're undermining what we're trying to do. Just know that we support you. I support you. I will be here for you 100% all the time. If you do something wrong, if you do something stupid, we're gonna call you out on it, and you're gonna call yourself out on it. I hope. I think a lot of people do that. I did. I've turned myself in before on stuff that I did. I called and said, "Hey, Sarge, I screwed up. I just did this." Okay, let me come out there. Okay. So understand, we back you 100%. There are people that may or may not watch this episode. They need to get up and get loud and get behind you. They need to show their support as well. I got this guy's photo on my screen, this Corey Mason. And he should be ashamed of himself. I'm going to send him a clip of this episode. He should be ashamed of himself. And I don't know what his history is. I don't know if he served in the military and he just hated it so much he thinks everybody's garbage, whatever. I don't know what his history is. But he's a piece of human garbage. You are not. If you are a first responder, if you're wanting to be a first responder, if your family members are first, whatever it is, we defend you. Because on a daily basis, you defend us. I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank everybody for listening and watching. I got mad. I'm sorry. I got explicit. I try to control myself and I couldn't. So I apologize. But it needed to be said. And so thank you for being here. Look forward to seeing you next week. Again, that's going to be New Year's Eve, so the 31st. We'll ring in the new year together. And by the time this episode's done airing, it's going to be close to midnight. So once again, thank you, everybody. Look forward to seeing you next week. Have a good one.